Snow howled across the prairie when Thomas saw her, a half-frozen. Comanche Girl collapsed beside his barn, her skin blue from the cold. He wrapped her in his coat, ignoring the old fear that any contact with the Comanche meant death. Her lips trembled a single word before darkness took her. Father. He stayed up all night nursing her, feeding her broth, praying no one would see the firelight. When dawn came, her eyes opened, dark, wild, and filled with warning. "They'll come," she whispered. Thomas's heart pounded as hooves echoed in the distance. Through the cracks of the barn door, he saw them, a dozen Comanche riders, feathers whipping in the wind, faces painted for war. The chief dismounted first, his spear gleaming. The girl gasped, "That's my father." Thomas froze, torn between fear and awe. The chief's voice thundered through the cold morning air, demanding the man who dared touch his daughter. Thomas stepped out, hands raised, explaining he saved her life. The chief's eyes softened for a heartbeat, then hardened again. "Comanche do not owe white men," he growled. The girl stumbled forward, still weak, clutching her father's arm. "He saved me," she cried. "Without him I'd be dead." The warriors hesitated, their horses restless. Thomas felt the chill of steel close to his chest as the chief raised his spear. Then she did something that stunned them all. She knelt before her father and pressed her head to the ground. "Let his blood not fall," she pleaded. "The spirits will curse you if you kill him." Silence swallowed the air. Even the horses stopped moving. The chief's gaze burned into Thomas's soul. "You kept her alive. That means the Great Spirit saw something in you," he said finally. "But if ever she cries again because of you, I'll return." The warriors turned, their spears catching the morning sun. As they rode away, the girl looked back once, her eyes soft, full of something unspoken. Thomas stood in the frost, breath trembling, realizing he'd just walked between life and death. Behind him, the barn still smoked with the warmth that saved her. Days later, when he found her necklace on the hay, he understood. It wasn't just gratitude she left behind. It was a promise. Somewhere in the endless plains, a tribe now knew his name, and a girl who owed him her heart. And every night after, when the wind howled like distant drums, Thomas could swear he heard her voice whispering his name across the dark. Prairie, part warning, part longing, part forever. For days after the encounter, Thomas couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made him reach for his rifle. He saw her face in every shadow, the girl he'd saved, the daughter of the chief who spared him. He told himself she was gone for good, but something deep inside whispered she'd return. One evening, as a cold rain fell, a faint knock echoed at his barn door. Thomas froze. When he opened it, she stood there, soaked, shivering, clutching a torn blanket. "They cast me out," she said softly. "My father called me cursed for defending you." Her voice broke. Trembling like the storm, Thomas brought her in, set her near the fire again. The flames danced on her bronze skin, her eyes glistening with tears. "I have nowhere to go," she whispered. He didn't answer, just threw another log on the fire and said, "Then you stay here till you do." Nights turned to weeks. She helped him tend the cattle, mend fences, even laughed at his clumsy jokes. The fear between them melted into a quiet bond neither dared name. But each night she'd stare into the dark horizon, as if waiting for something she couldn't escape. One morning, she found an arrow wedged in the barn door, black-feathered, marked with her tribe's symbol. Her face went pale. "They know," she whispered. "They'll come for me again. And for you." Thomas gritted his teeth. "Then let them. This time I won't run." They packed supplies, ready to flee toward the canyon. But before they could leave, the distant thunder of hooves rolled over the plains. The chief had returned, not alone, but with 20 warriors. The girl's hand found Thomas's. "You saved me once," she said. "Now let me save you." She stepped out before the riders, her hair whipping in the wind, shouting in Comanche. Her words came like arrows, fierce, pleading, defiant. The chief dismounted, glaring at Thomas, but listening to his daughter's heart pour out. The air was tense until the old warrior finally dropped his spear into the dirt. "If you love him, then he is no enemy," he said. The warriors looked away, uneasy but obedient. Thomas stood speechless as the chief turned to leave without another word. The girl looked back, tears mixing with the rain. "He gave us both our lives," she whispered. Thomas nodded, feeling a strange peace settle in his chest. The war between them, between blood and mercy, had ended beneath that grey sky. And when the storm passed, she smiled faintly. "Now," she said, "maybe the spirits will let us start again." Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled like drums of surrender. Weeks passed in uneasy peace. The Comanche no longer came, yet Thomas felt their presence in every gust of wind. The girl, Nahima, began to smile again. She'd hum soft songs while working beside him, her laughter echoing across the empty prairie like the first warmth of spring. One morning, Thomas found her sitting by the corral, watching the sunrise. "You ever think about going back?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "My people see me as lost. Maybe I am. But here," she looked at him, "I feel found." Her words struck deeper than she knew. Their days grew quiet, tender, two souls rebuilding from broken worlds. Yet whispers of unrest reached them from nearby towns, settlers speaking of a Comanche raid forming again. Thomas feared it might undo the fragile peace they had carved. Nahima's eyes darkened. "My father's enemies are stirring," she said. That night, firelight painted her face as she told him of the vision she'd had. Her father surrounded by flames, the tribe torn apart by revenge. "If I don't return, they'll destroy themselves," she said. "And maybe you too." Thomas clenched his fists. "Then I ride with you." They left before dawn, galloping through misty plains toward the Comanche camp. Smoke rose in the distance, battle preparations underway. Nahima rode ahead, her hair flying like a black banner. The warriors turned as she approached, their eyes wide with disbelief. She shouted for peace, for reason, for forgiveness. Her voice rose above the wind, fierce and commanding. Her father stepped from the crowd, his face carved in grief and pride. "You defied me," he said, "but you spoke truth." Then he raised his hands to the sky, signaling the end of the coming war. The warriors lowered their weapons. The drums stopped. Only the wind spoke now, carrying the sound of salvation through the camp. Nahima's eyes met Thomas's across the firelight, a silent vow that neither tribe nor blood could break them apart again. Her father approached Thomas and placed a carved eagle feather in his hand. "You have the spirit of the plains," he said. "Protect her. And remember, peace is a harder battle than war." Then he turned away, vanishing into the smoke. Months later, the prairie bloomed again. Thomas built a small house near the river where the barn once stood. Nahima tended a garden of wildflowers, red, yellow, fierce as her heart. Every sunrise they stood side by side, bound not by tribe or color, but by what they'd fought to save. And when the wind howled across the plains, it no longer carried the drums of war, only the faint echo of a song Nahima once sang, the song of a girl found in the snow and a farmer who gave her back her life.